Hey Tom, I had a question come up regarding a recent trend regarding remote managed services, regarding, of course, IT and security, and it's a newer trend for most companies. And I was curious what pros and cons come with remote managed services.
Oh, that's a great question. And you're right. We are seeing a big increase in, well, first of all, there's a consolidation going on in our industry. MSPs and MSSPs are consolidating right now. And so there's going to be fewer of them out there. When you're looking at a full services company, right? They can do everything, right? And so we have clients all over the US and even some international endpoints that are all supported remotely. But what you have to, and you may be thinking like, well, I really want some boots on the ground. I want somebody that'll show up in the office in 30 minutes and plug in a new keyboard for Susie or
Yeah.
Bill, right? And that's all well and good, but no matter if you're using someone that is only 5 blocks away from you, they're going to remote support everything they possibly can anyway because it improves their efficiency,
Hmm.
and often they deliver a higher quality service level. Okay? If you have to wait for something simple because they're triaging or they've got a service level agreement with other clients and things like that, that advantage for boots on the ground goes away. So I think a better tactic and a better way to approach it is think about the types of things that require boots on the ground. Putting a new server in, maybe putting a new personal computer in. I wouldn't think putting a new laptop in is one of those because we stage them before we deliver them. Even for those that are in a decent radius of our office, we'll stage them before we deliver them, and often the clients, even if they're only 5 miles away, will come and pick it up themselves. Um, but think about really and truly how important is that to your company, and if you weigh it above all other things, if you're not in a major metropolitan area, there's a good chance, you're in a smaller city or town, and depending on what your definition of small cities and small towns
Hmm.
are, you're prioritizing geography over all of the other parts of your overall IT infrastructure investment in cybersecurity. Okay. Now, we touched on this a little bit in the co-managed
Yeah.
services, especially when it comes to cybersecurity. That's just a smart thing to do because it's all done remotely.
Hmm.
There's very little that needs. I don't know that we've ever gone on site in a cyber attack.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever done it. So that's something that can easily be handled remotely,
Hmm.
and help desk can be handled remotely. So then you're drilling down to what do I really need somebody on the ground? And maybe it is a server replacement. Okay. Now, many of you may have moved to the cloud. Well, we don't drive to our data center in Massachusetts or Las Vegas
Yeah.
and replace our servers. We outsource that, right?
Mhm.
Well, it's the same thing, So, when it becomes, but even if it's outsourced, that intimate knowledge they have of your on-premises server or servers is going to outweigh that geographic need. In other words, we can outsource someone to plug in a server to a network on the right configuration on the switch and the router and all these basic stuff. But then because of our in-depth knowledge, we can remotely migrate all of that stuff. We can do proper planning to minimize downtime, if any. And we already know the policies and procedures that through our 3 pillars methodology that we use and all the international standards such as NIST and our knowledge of compliance and regulations and intimate knowledge of what your company objectives and the vision that you've supplied for your company or your leadership team has supplied to your company. That's all part of us, of our relationship with clients. I believe it far outweighs that geographic restriction. So you really need to consider that. Don't fall into the trap of saying, I need somebody that I can pick the phone up and get them here in 10 minutes. And you're in a city of, say, 50,000 people, you know? The quality, the chances of a town that size delivering really high quality services, I'm not saying they don't exist, but there's a difference between a world-class service provider and everyone else. And those world-class service providers are at best 10 to 20% of the market. And I no way mean to insult anybody else, any other companies or anything like that. I think we all strive to be the best. We all know what our weaknesses and strengths are. But that's just a little bit. Just don't limit yourself geographically. Be open-minded about it. It's the best advice I can give.
Definitely. One thing that you mentioned some great points, and you talked about your relationship, that relationship between the client and that MSP. And a lot of times people may worry that the relationship may not be as strong because they don't see them there. It's via Zoom. But those remote MSPs that provide all the remote support, those remote services, the good ones, and I believe what kind of sets us apart is that we make that extra effort to make sure it's just not a client to customer or client to company relationship. We actually have a partnership with that company. And so even though we're not there in person, we still understand all of your business needs, goals. We know all the employees that we're talking to, and they get excited when one of our tech engineers hops on the Zoom to help them. And so that's something that when choosing an MSP or looking to get remote managed services, always take that relationship and partnership factor into place as well. And that's to us something that we strive and I make sure we do a good job on, because it's very, very important if you're face to face or via Zoom. And it's something that shouldn't go away no matter what type of
Yeah.
managed services you
Yeah,
get.
and just for those of you thinking that Zoom doesn't give you the full effect, you're absolutely right. We know the statistics. 93% of human communication is more than just words. Now,
Mhm.
we get a little bit better on that with Zoom because we can see people's faces and it's easier to get intonement and understandings, but we already know that. We even our own internal company, many of us are virtual. I'm virtual right now. I'm not in the same building as Davin, and some of us aren't, about a quarter or a third, and that varies from time to time. But we understand that we have to work harder at that relationship if it's only done via Zoom. We understand those things. And we understand the value of on-site visits. And, some of our clients, if they're 1,000, 2,000 miles away, we realize that we've got to do some face to
TLC.
face and getting to know us, and there's a time and a place, right? So it's this old debate. Well, I hate email. I hate phone calls. I hate instant messaging. I believe in face to face. Well, the reality is the world's not that black and white.
No, that's exactly right.
Sometimes an email is a better mode of communication than picking up the phone and interrupting somebody's day and train of thought.
Mhm.
Sometimes an instant message is better. We use a combination of all of those things. Sometimes it's emails. We live in Slack.
Yeah.
And lately, I've been on Zoom for at least half the day, almost every single day. So, you just don't box yourself in these new communication methods. Just use them when it's best. It's the best fit. When somebody needs to be thoughtful, email is a good way to communicate, you
That's
know?
exactly right. Well, if anyone ever has any questions regarding remote managed services, or that's something that you may have not considered, but now you want to look into what that may look like for your company, feel free to reach out. Of course, we'd be happy to help and see if it's the right fit for you. We have different gap analysis and assessments that we can do to help you analyze if this is the best route for your company. So feel free to reach out at any time. If you have any questions or topics that you want us to touch on in the future, of course, you can send us an email, leave it in the comments, and we'll be happy to chat about it soon.